Part 6. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 51. Chapter 51, Making a Fortune in a Restaurant. Although the taste of this wine is incomparable to that of spiritual wine, it is also one of the few fine wines in the world. It is also a wine that has the effect of eliminating fatigue and strengthening the body. As soon as it is put on the shelves, Yuan can guarantee that this wine will be snapped up by people. Yuan came to the cellar and put back the pickled vegetables, peppers, and Qian wine. This cellar, after Xuanjian put things away, she ordered everyone not to enter the cellar without her permission. No matter how the servants think that many things about Yuan are weird, who dares to talk nonsense? Yuan returned to the room and wrote down the general recipe for the pickled fish, the price and name of the wine. She called Zhang Xuanjian, take a jar each of the wine and kimchi from the cellar to the restaurant. Zhang Xuanjian took a piece of paper written by Yuan. She was secretly surprised when she saw that a pound of wine sold for 10 taels of silver. When Xiaobo took the piece of paper Zhang Xuanjian handed him and saw on it a recipe for pickled fish and 10 ounces of wine, Xiaobo almost exclaimed. Zhang Xuanjian saw that Uncle Xiao had the same expression as hers, and she said, "Uncle Xiao, please ask people to move things over quickly. I have to go back and recover." Xiaobo put the paper in his sleeve and said, "Okay, Miss Wushuan, please wait a moment." After unloading the things, Xiaobo ran to open the lid of the kimchi and smelled it. It smells so good. It really is the master's fault. There are no ordinary things. He smelled the wine again. Huh? This wine doesn't seem to have the same aroma as the one I drank that night. Xiaobo also took a sip from the cup. After a while, he realized that it was Yuan who had improved it. This kind of wine is not bad for selling. It would be a pity to sell the wine that he drank before. So Bo Xiao immediately returned to the counter and wrote on the small board with a pen that our store will serve fine wine today. The price of this wine is clearly stated at 10 taels of silver per caddy. Then put it in a conspicuous place. "Hey, shopkeeper Xiao, what good dishes are there today?" "Huh? Fine wine? 12 ounces a caddy? Shopkeeper Xiao, what kind of wine are you talking about? Is it so valuable?" A young man in rich clothes led a group of people into the restaurant. Uncle Xiao raised his eyes and said, "Hey, Master Zhang, we have food and wine today. Please come up to the 3rd floor and they will be served to you in a moment." Xiaobo immediately led Master Zhang and his group of 5 people up to the 3rd floor. He called to the waiter, "Miss Zhang, please serve good tea to Master Zhang and the others." The waiter immediately followed the group into the private room. "Xiaobo, Master Zhang, Xiao goes to the kitchen to order your dishes. Please wait a moment." Master Zhang sat down and waved his hand, "Go quickly, just bring the good wine and food." Xiaobo immediately went downstairs, came to the kitchen, took out the piece of paper, and asked the waiter to prepare the fish and ingredients. He would cook this dish himself today. Then he ordered the waiter to bring the dishes that must be ordered every day in Master Jiang's private room to the table, and then put a pound of wine on it. Besides, Master Zhang was very satisfied to see the food served so quickly. Today he specially brought Mr. Wang, who came down from Fukan, to try the food in this restaurant. He has been eating here every day since it opened. The food here is so delicious, but the money is so easy that he can't afford it even if he doesn't pay 50 or 60 taels for a meal. Come on, Master Wang, please try it quickly. I won't lie to you." "Oh, waiter, there's that wine, please fill it up quickly." The man named young Master Wang picked up the chopsticks and put a chopstick into his mouth. At this time, everyone was looking at young Master Wang. Master Wang started chewing slowly. After a while, his mouth moved faster, and he picked up several other dishes to eat. "Okay, this tastes really delicious, ha ha ha, Brother Zhang, that's good. Mr. Zhang is straightforward, as long as our ancestor likes it. Mr. Wang happened to have a bit of a spicy mouth. When he saw the waiter pouring the wine, he didn't even look at it and just drank it down. After a while, Master Wang frowned and said, "Waiter, hurry up, pour me another glass." The waiter was startled, thinking there was something wrong with the wine. The hand holding the wine bottle was shaking a little, so I quickly poured another glass. Master Wang immediately took it and smelled it, then took a sip and savored it in his mouth. After a while, "This wine is really good, fine wine, ha ha ha, it really lives up to its name." Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, Uncle Xiao came up with a basin of pickled fish. When he heard the praise of the wine, Uncle Xiao burst into laughter. "Shopkeeper Xiao, you're here just in time, let's bring another pound of wine," Master Zhang said immediately. Okay, Master Zhang, wait a moment." In the lobby, Xiao Bo had already poured some wine and put it on the counter. As long as the guests entered the restaurant, they could smell the fragrant aroma of the wine. At the end of the day, Uncle Xiao and all the chefs and waiters were too tired to stand. Wang Yuhua took the account book and said excitedly, "Shopkeeper Xiao, look, we have finished buying the wine today, and we have made a lot of money today." Xiao Bo smiled, it was expected. The next day, as soon as Yuan finished practicing, she heard Zhang Xuanjian shout, "Miss, Uncle Xiao has something urgent to see you." "Yuan, ask him to wait for me in the living room." She changed her clothes and came to the living room. She asked Zhongzhen to enlarge the concierge and divide it into 2 rooms, one of which was used as a living room. Yuan stepped into the living room, and Xiao Bo stood up. "Good morning, miss, I didn't disturb you, did I?" Yuan motioned for Xiao Bo to sit down. "No, should Uncle Xiao be looking for me in a bar?" Xiao Bo nodded repeatedly. "Miss, all the wine was sold out yesterday, and the restaurant's turnover was more than 20,000 taels yesterday." Xiao Bo didn't expect that the fish cooked with ordinary pickled vegetables would taste so delicious. It was simply a delicacy in the world. "Well, today's wine is only 1 pound per table. Drinking too much wine can easily cause trouble. You can go back to the restaurant later and go to the cellar to move the bar. If there are any materials that are not enough, prepare them in advance or tell me." "Okay, miss, I understand." "Uncle Xiao, you work very hard every day. After closing, you each have a drink, and you also tell them that at the end of the month, there will be rewards." Uncle Xiao was shocked this time. They were all slaves and could be killed by their master at will. The lady said that they would be rewarded with a drink of wine every day. He knew the effects of the wine, and it was not for slaves like them to drink. He murmured, "This? How can miss do this?" Yuan smiled, "Why can't you do it? In my place, although you have a deed of betrayal in my hands, I don't really treat you as slaves. As long as you do well and are loyal in the future, maybe I will return the favor. Your slave status. You can have a family and have children." Xiao Bo was pleasantly surprised. He went out from the living room, went to the cellar to fetch wine and brought it to the restaurant. He was in a daze and made hee from time to time. It was so frightening that everyone in the restaurant was startled. When people in the restaurant knew that Yuan had a reward, everyone became more motivated. After Xiao Bo left, Yuan called Zhang Xuanjian and Mrs. Wu. "Miss, what are your orders?" The two of them were eager to have something to do again. "Of course something has happened. From today on, you two will assist Uncle Zong in purchasing grain, as well as wine and empty jars. Take them back and put them in the cellar. I will go and look at them every day." End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 52. Chapter 52. Master Shen himself. Zhang Xuanjian and Mrs. Wu both said, "Yes, miss." Although they have the same doubts as Zhongzhen, their purpose is to do whatever the lady asks. Yuan felt that the dryness in the air was getting more and more serious. This was not the rhythm of rain, but the rhythm of a severe drought, and the harvest of grain was imminent. The day is approaching when the private school starts. In the morning, the family got up early. Under the leadership of Yuan, the group came outside Master Shen's house. Yu Heiran stepped forward and knocked on the door. The door opened immediately, revealing the face of an old man who had experienced many vicissitudes of life. "Are you looking for Master Shen?" "Yes, old man, please inform me," Yu Heiran said politely. The old man said, "Wait a moment." Yu Heiran, "Thank you, old man." Yuan secretly praised Yu Heiran. In less than a month, he went from a boy who dared not say a word to the calm and generous eldest son Fan'er. She looked back at Feng, who was holding Xiaoqi. She had contributed a lot to it. After a while, the old man turned around and said to Yu Heiran, "Master, let those who want to study go in, and the others can wait." Ah! Yuan smiled. Master Shen really did everything based on his preference. "Uncle Zong, please give the apprenticeship ceremony to the eldest brother and the others, each of them can take his own." "Yes, Miss." Zhongzheng distributed the 4 copies of the apprenticeship ceremony to the 4 brothers Yu Heiran. Yuan stepped forward and looked at the apprenticeship ceremony in the basket to confirm that there was nothing wrong with it. In addition, she added a pound of spiritual wine to each apprenticeship ceremony. I think the old man liked this more. "Brother, when you go in to see the master, you don't have to be formal. I'm sure the master will test you. You can answer whatever you want. Go in and don't keep the master waiting." The 4 brothers entered the house with their chests straightened out, their clothes straightened, and carrying baskets. Ms. Feng watched the 4 brothers go in with a worried look. Why didn't she know Master Shen? If you have real talent, you can learn from it, but your mouth is poisonous. At that time Master Shen was demoted for a time and became a major topic of conversation in the capital. If Mrs. Shen knew that it was her father who demoted her, would she be angry with her child? Yuan did not ignore the worry in Feng's eyes. She stepped forward and teased Xiaoqi. "Mom, don't worry, trust me." "Xiao mother knows that if you don't worry, it's a lie." "Then Master Shen." Mrs. Feng stopped talking. Yuan saw what Feng was thinking, but Feng didn't think about it either. Now she has an identity. She said, "Mom, you are thinking too much. I have met Mrs. Shen. She is a good wife. Don't worry, Big Brother and the others will definitely become him's student." Master Shen was able to become a bachelor and was demoted again and again. Now he is living a leisurely and restless life. His heart is open-minded and he has already seen through all the situations in the world. How can he be influenced by a down-and-out royal family? An hour later, while everyone was waiting anxiously, the 4 brothers smiled happily. "Mom, 4th sister, we can come to school tomorrow." Xiao ran forward and threw herself into Yuan's arms. Her joy was beyond words. "Really? That's great." Mrs. Feng was overjoyed at this moment. "Let's go, mother." Xiao, let's go back and talk." Yu Heiran greeted Mrs. Feng and stood in front of the master's door and spoke loudly. "How decent was it? Oh, let's go, let's go." Mom is so happy. Could Mrs. Feng be unhappy? What would she be like if that incident hadn't happened back then? What kind of life do her current children want to live in, and what kind of school do they want to enter? Now her son is enlightened only when he is a teenager. It's all thanks to Xiao. If it weren't for her, their family would still be working as cows and horses in the old house. The poison in her body is still there, and there is no telling whether she will die or not. It's all her obedient little boy who brought the whole family out of the sea of misery. Mrs. Feng looked at the loving brothers and sisters in front of her, her eyes full of love, and her heart felt like she had eaten honey. Back at Yu Mansion, Yuan asked Zhong Zheng to have the kitchen prepare a table of delicious dishes. The 8 of them, mother and son, had a great time at noon. This is the most important happy event for their family. Okay, miss, I'll do it now. Zhong Zheng stepped back and trotted towards the kitchen. 8 mother and son entered Yuan's courtyard. She asked Mrs. Wu and Zhang Xuanjian to make tea and arrange fruits. Mrs. Feng sat at the top with Xiao Qi in her arms, and the brothers and sisters sat down one after another, all waiting for Yu Heiran and others to say. Brother, tell me. You see, my mother is impatient. Yu Heiran took a few sips of tea and said, actually, Master Shen just asked each of us one question, and we answered whatever we thought. Then he asked us to worship the great sage Su, and then perform the apprenticeship ceremony. He added, what Master Shen asked me is, if a person is very poor and you want to help him, how should you help him? I think that Xiao Sier teaches us literacy and martial arts. This is teaching us skills we can rely on. We have the ability to survive for a long time. If we give us money and wait for others to help us, will others help us again? So I understand that it is better to teach people to fish than to teach them how to fish. And then I said it. Yu Hao continued, what Master Shen asked me was, if one day the country is in trouble, what would I do? He scratched his head in embarrassment and said, I said that if there were foreign enemies, I would definitely go into battle to kill them. Yu Haoshan said, Master asked me how I should deal with myself when I become the richest man one day. I didn't expect that Master didn't test his knowledge, so I didn't know how to answer this question. My mind turned around and I realized that Master just asked the question to my eldest and second brother. Don't you just need my money? So I told the Master that I could build workshops in poor places, teach them to work, and then let them work in the workshop for me. They would earn money and learn to work, and I would also earn money. Hee, why not do it? In addition, I can also donate food and clothing to the sergeants. In war, food and grass come first. Do you have to have enough food and grass? Yuan didn't say a word. She was thinking thoughtfully about Master Shen's test questions. At this time, Xiao Lu said, the question Master asked me was very simple. He said the brothers were fighting. Who should I help? I said I would beat whoever ignored him. How could we brothers fight? Ms. Feng also understood. She was happy at first, but now she was worried. Yuan also understood, and the old man knew their identities. It's just that these silly boys don't know. Yuan could probably guess the old man's intentions. First, he wanted to tell her clearly that Master Shen knew the identity of their family. Second, he may train several children in various aspects. After all, their identities will be revealed one day, and these children will have to work for those in need. Third, although this old man is in this remote place, his heart is with the imperial court. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 53. Chapter 53, Undoing the Poison. At noon, the mother and son had a happy meal. In the afternoon, Yuan was thinking about going back to space to practice her fighting skills from her previous life. Some things were being pushed forward invisibly, and she had to practice her skills. Miss, someone outside the door has sent a letter. My servant has brought it to you. Zhang Xuanjian put the envelope on the coffee table. Oh, Yuan picked up the envelope and took out the letter. When she saw it, she understood immediately. She was still thinking in the morning, who revealed their identity to Master Shen, so that's it? Yuan turned around and went back to the house, changing into more elegant clothes. Looking at myself in the mirror, she is wearing a long smoky dress, her hair is in a double bun, and she is tied with 2 smoky hair ribbons, swaying in the wind, very elegant. He has grown taller, and the flesh on his face and body has grown out. Her skin is like gelatin, her eyebrows are willow leaves, her big eyes are covered by flickering eyelashes, her nose is beautiful, and her lips are red. A complete and charming beauty. Yuan came out, Zhang Xuanjian's eyes lit up. Miss, you are so beautiful. Our twin swallows are also beautiful and heroic. Zhang Xuanjian felt comfortable listening to the first half of the sentence, but the second half seemed to be roundabout, talking about her as a man. Ah! The lady is so bad. Yuan, this girl is pregnant recently. She has only been with Jiaoda for a few days and she has fallen in love with beauty. Let's go out with me. Okay, miss, let's go. Zhang Xuanjian's mood immediately turned bright. The master and the servant left Yu mansion and turned left. Huh? Miss, are you going to Master Shen's house? Zhang Xuanjian was puzzled. She had finished everything in the morning, so why did she come here again? Yuan said calmly, yes, something happened. Arriving at the door, Zhang Xuanjian stepped forward to knock on the door. It was still the old man who opened the door. Is it Miss Yu? Our master is waiting, please come with me. When the master and servant entered the door, the old man took a look at Zhang Xuanjian. Yuan said to Zhang Xuanjian, Xuanjian, just wait for me in the concierge. Zhang Xuanjian nodded in agreement, turned around and went to the concierge to find a place to sit down. Yuan followed the old man to the west wing of the second courtyard. The old man knocked on the door. The person who opened the door was not Dr. Bai. Miss Yu, please come in. I haven't seen her for almost 20 days, but this little girl has grown up. Yuan nodded, hello, Dr. Bai. She followed Dr. Bai in, opened the side door and entered another room. This is a bedroom, simply decorated, with a person lying on the bed. Dr. Bai pointed to the stool in front of the bed and said, Miss Yu, please sit down. This is the patient. Please excuse me, Miss Yu. Yuan nodded. She knew that Dr. Bai was in a hurry, so she didn't care. Yuan looked at the person on the bed. It should be said that he was a skinny, middle-aged man in brocade clothes with little air intake and little air output. He had long hair on his temples. She turned to Dr. Bai and said, Dr. Bai, can you come outside and watch for me? Don't disturb me. Dr. Bai was stunned for a moment, then understood. He exited and closed the door. Yuan waved her hand, and a little snake appeared in her hand. Master, what are you doing? What are you not doing? Work. Come and look at the person on the bed. He has been infected by a bug like my mother. Suck it out quickly. The little snake jumped over and said after a while, Master, this man is really the same goo insect as the mistress, but this goo insect is so big. Yuan frowned. Is this man Feng's former lover? Feng was so nervous about him that he got the same poison. In a daze, the little snake moved its mouth to out the poisonous insect. Master, master, okay, let the little snake return to the space quickly, the little snake wants to sleep. Oh, the little snake is so fast. Yuan waved her hand to collect the little snake. She poured a glass of water on the table and dropped some spiritual spring water into the glass. She called out, Dr. Bai. Hearing the sound, Dr. Bai pushed the door open and asked, What's wrong with Miss Yu? Yuan gave the cup to Dr. Bai. You feed him this glass of water and he will wake up later. Dr. Bai took the cup, hesitant, so fast. When he saw that the water in the cup was full of vitality, he immediately lifted the man up and fed him the water. Miss Yu, dare I ask if something came out of his body? Yuan glanced at him and said, You can feel your pulse. Dr. Bai really touched the man's wrist and felt his pulse. After a long while, Dr. Bai said excitedly, Ha ha ha, no more, really no more, thank you so much, Miss Yu. Yuan stood up, waved her hands and said, No need to thank me, just pay for the consultation. Dr. Bai. Dr. Bai covered the man with a quilt, came out with Yuan, and sat down in the living room. You don't have anything to ask. Yuan shook her head. What you need to know will naturally be known. Your mother's identity, you should know it with your intelligence, right? The man inside is your mother's fiancé, War King Bai Zi, and I am Bai Ziqian, his brother. Bai Ziqian took a sip of tea to moisten his choked throat. I didn't want to bring you into this, but you are the daughter of the eldest princess. I knew you were not an ordinary girl the first time I saw you. When I diagnosed your mother, I knew who you were. Good luck. Man, this injustice is not over yet. Bai Ziqian paused and then said, your mother is just right now. She doesn't know the current situation. I will tell you and you can think about it yourself. The current emperor is your mother's brother from the same mother. When the late emperor was alive, your maternal grandmother was the legitimate daughter of the Fang family, a concubine, and the mother of the current emperor and your mother. The queen at that time only had a second princess, and she was a few months younger than your mother. They had not had a good relationship since they were young. When they grew up, they fell in love with Bai Zi, the third young master of the Bai mansion who was crowned the king of war at a young age with the current emperor who was still the prince at that time. However, the late emperor gave the eldest princess a marriage for the future emperor. It was given to Bai Zi. This stirred up a hornet's nest. The second princess was crying and fussing overtly, but secretly resorted to many tricks. So 15 years ago, she asked the eldest princess and Bai Zi out, saying that she had figured it out. Apologized to the two of them, and finally the two of them went. This time, the second princess was really fooled, and she directly put the love-eating poison on the two of them, so that the two lovers were separated. Conspiracy, these two people know that they have no good intentions, why do they go? Later, when the late emperor heard about this, his old illness relapsed and he passed away. The current emperor ascended the throne in a hurry. Unfortunately, the emperor became ill every 3 days and once every 5 days, and sometimes did not even go to court early. From then on, the imperial power fell away, and today the Queen Mother has been in power since then. She eliminated dissidents and killed Zhongliang. She also gave the second princess a marriage to Zhu Zhenting, who is now the general's palace. It can be said that the current court is their hall. Yuan frowned. Is this the way to become an empress? I'm afraid the emperor has also been poisoned. Does the emperor have any heirs? How is the queen's family? Bai Ziqian was startled. The emperor has a prince who is 12 years old and also weak and sick. The queen's mother-in-law is the 7th grade magistrate of Huiyang County in Lishan Prefecture. Yuan choked. Thank you for your votes, thank you. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 54. Chapter 54. Fen knows the truth. This Empress Dowager can really do it. Since she is not afraid of being laughed at by people in the world, she has the capital. It's this goo worm. Yuan raised her lips and smiled. People in the world have a bad attitude towards the worm, but she is the nemesis of the worm. Now that the matter is clear, it is impossible to stay out of it and be alone. Thank you, Dr. Bai, for telling me. I'm sure the prince will wake up soon, so I'll go back first. It's best to recover before leaving. If it's inconvenient for you to stay here, you can move to my house. Otherwise, we have to send someone here every day get the potion, the one you just drank. Yuan stood up to leave. Of course Dr. Bai would not keep her. Miss Yu, can we go back with you now? Yuan nodded, okay. Hey, this Bai Ziqian is really on the road. Feng is thinking about Bai Zi. They were once an unmarried couple and shared will and woe. Now they are only in their 30s. I believe that if they meet again after a long separation, will they, Yuan doesn't mind her mother marrying Bai Zi. Her thoughts are not the feudal thoughts here. She has the final say how and who to marry. Hey, Miss Yu, go back first, we'll be there soon. After Zi wakes up, Bai Ziqian didn't expect that this little girl was exactly what he wanted, and he didn't know how to speak. Bai Ziqian escorted Yuan to the door and waved to her, Miss Yu, go slowly. Miss, Zhang Xuanjian saw Yuan coming out. Well, let's go back. The master and servant left the house and walked back. Bai Ziqian watched Yuan go out, his eyes sparkling. What a good child, why is he not a child of their old Bai family? It's not the case now, and it won't be the case in the future. Just change her to the status quo, he. When the master and servant returned to Yu Mansion, Yuan said to Zhang Xuanjian, ask Uncle Zong to clean the wing room in the third courtyard until guests come to check in. Zhang Xuanjian nodded, okay, miss. Yuan then walked towards Feng's courtyard. In the yard, Mrs. Feng was teaching literacy to Yu Heiran and others. When she saw Yuan coming, she put down the book in her hand. The fourth lady is here, sister-in-law Chen, hurry up and get the fourth lady a glass of water. Yuan saw that Mrs. Feng was now full of energy, healthy, and had grown back her flesh. She looked like a rich lady. And Yuan and Xiaolu are very similar to Feng. Mom, don't be too busy, let your brothers learn on their own. Upon hearing this, Mrs. Feng immediately said something and returned to her bedroom with Yuan. The mother and daughter sat down, and Yuan said, Mom, I have good news, do you want to hear it? You kid, you're still playing riddles with me, please tell me quickly, Feng said with a smile. Yuan, hey, Mom, please hold on tight, I've already helped him get rid of that person's poison. Ms. Feng stood up suddenly and held Yuan's hand, really? Let's go, Xiao Sier, take mother to have a look. Yuan pushed Feng down and sat down, Mom, what are you in a hurry for? They will come to live in our house soon, and I have asked Uncle Zong to clean the room. Ah, really, that's great, Xiao Sier, my mother's good boy, woo woo woo. Come on, come and help me take a look, can I meet people like this, woohoo. Feng Shi looked in the mirror and cried, leaving Yuan dumbfounded. Mom, you are very beautiful. Uncle Bai will definitely like it if he sees it. Feng Shi turned around and said, do you know, Xiao Sier? Yuan nodded. When Ms. Feng saw him, she stopped looking in the mirror and stopped crying. She sat down on the stool and said, Xiao Sier, why do you think my mother is embarrassed to see him like this? Hey, why does Yuan feel that her mother's style of painting is wrong? She was crying and excited just now, but now she doesn't have the courage anymore. Oh, mother, if there is anything you are embarrassed to see, you will know it when you see it. Ms. Feng touched her face, Xiao Sier, can I still see him with my current status? Yuan raised her forehead and said, if mother doesn't like him anymore, it would be best not to see him again. After hearing this, Ms. Feng looked lonely. Don't like it? That's impossible, it's just that she is a poisonous insect. Sometimes when she dreams back at midnight, she can see his figure. But now that she is the mother of 7 children, and one of them is in ruins, how can she still have the right to say that she likes him? Yuan sighed, Mom, you'd better meet him. He won't recover that quickly. Let's take a look first. Another thing is that the current emperor is his uncle, and the person in charge is the Empress Dowager. What did you say, Xiao Seer? Ms. Feng was stunned. There was a buzzing sound in her head and she almost fainted. Yuan quickly supported her and asked her to sit down. Yuan took out the jade pendant from the space and put it in Feng's hand. Feng held the jade pendant and raised her eyes to look at Yuan, her tears couldn't stop flowing. Xiao Sier, why are you here? She gently touched the jade pendant. I got it from the old witch's box on the afternoon of the second day we came to town, Yuan said honestly. Mrs. Feng burst into tears, just take it back. Xiao Sier, tell your mother about your grandmother and uncle's affairs. Okay, so Yuan told Feng everything she knew. Bang, Mrs. Feng was so angry that she slapped her hand on the table. Her eyes were on fire and she gritted her teeth and said, those bitches, those who have brought disaster to the country and the people, Xiao Sier, you must help your uncle. Mom is the only one there with you. Uncle is now a relative. Woo woo woo. Hey, this country is full of enemies. Mom, you can rest assured to recuperate and practice hard. We will go to the capital during the Chinese New Year. How can we let them continue to do evil? Ms. Feng hugged Yuan and stroked her head gently. Okay, my dear, let's work hard as mother and son. Yuan was stiffened by this sudden hug. She was not used to it at first, but Feng's gentle touch gradually calmed her resisting heart. Smelling the mother's scent on Feng's body made her feel sleepy. Yuan smelled the scent of Feng's body heavily, and it turned out that this was the smell of her mother. Haha, after so many years, she can't remember the smell of her mother. Mom, Xiaoxi, what's wrong with you? Yu Heiran came with his brothers and sisters. Seeing the warm scene of mother and daughter, they wanted to do the same. Ms. Feng let go of Yuan and wiped the tears on her face, but you are here. Mom is fine. Xiao and Xiaoliu stepped forward and hugged Fengshi. Did Mom cry? Ms. Feng, well, I cried, and I miss my parents too. Yu Heiran and others all looked at Feng. They had never thought about the concept of mother as father and mother since they were young. Ms. Feng nodded, of course Mom has parents. Next year our family will go back to see them. You should study hard and practice martial arts. Someday Mom will tell you who your mom's parents are. Yuan also thought that there are some things that Yu Heiran brothers should know, since they are already teenagers. Here, teenage boys can start a family and start a business. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 55. Chapter 55. Bai Zi enters Yu Mansion. Yuan was very satisfied with what Feng thought. It was not because she was afraid that the children would not be able to bear it when they were young, so she gave them a comfortable environment to grow up. Yu Heiran and the others were people who grew up in adversity. Being a little cowardly does not mean that their perseverance is not firm enough. Now that their new identities are about to be revealed, it is impossible to live a comfortable life. Only those who grow up in adversity are strong enough, more determined, and ruthless enough. While mother and son were enjoying their family relationship, Zhongzheng came to report that the guests had already arrived at the door. When Ms. Feng heard this, she suddenly felt nervous. Yuan came up and held her hand tightly. Let's go. Mother Feng held her hand, or rather she held Yuan's hand, and walked towards the door. Yu Heiran didn't know who was coming, so he followed Feng and the others with a few little ones. The door has been opened, and Bai Ziqian is standing at the door. Two powerful men behind him are carrying Bai Zi. Ms. Feng took a few steps and said, Dr. Bai, please come in quickly. Bai Ziqian nodded, hello, Ms. Feng, hello, miss you, we are sorry for disturbing you. Feng Shi was already choking, and her eyes were fixed on Bai Zi on the stretcher. Although she couldn't see his face, Feng's hands were shaking so much that she almost lost her grip on Yuan's hand. Dr. Bai, please come in quickly. The patient is still sick and the room has been tidied up, Yuan quickly said to Bai Ziqian. Bai Ziqian bent down to thank him, and waved for two big men to carry him in. Uncle Zhong, take Dr. Bai to the yard to rest, and send someone to help if they need anything, they can ask you or your wife, Yuan ordered Zhongzheng. By the way, Yuan asked Feng to take care of the family affairs. She only focused on practicing cultivation and how to make money. The group of people walked towards Sanjinyuan, Zhong Zheng led the two big men in front. After putting the person on the bed, the two big men seemed to be invisible. Yuan knew that the two men were secret guards. The servants all left, leaving their family, Bai Zi on the bed, and Bai Ziqian standing beside the bed. Ms. Feng kept looking anxiously at Bai Zi on the bed, with tears already streaming down her face. Yuan had no choice but to say to Yu Heiran and the others, "Brother, go back and prepare for the start of school tomorrow. Dr. Bai and the others have just arrived and need a rest. You can come see Uncle Bai another day." Yu Heiran is not stupid. He has already seen that something is wrong with his mother, but he doesn't know what it is. Hearing what Yuan said, he nodded, greeted Dr. Bai and went back with his siblings. As soon as Yu Heiran and the others left, Yuan winked at Dr. Bai, and the two of them exited with a secret glance, closing the door behind them. Yuan and Bai Ziqian are sitting in the middle living room. The structure of this wing is the same as that of the main room. She asked Zhong Zheng to turn the middle room into a living room and bedrooms on both sides. "How is Uncle Bai doing now? Is he feeling better?" Bai Ziqian still has one eye hanging on the bedroom door, and his ears are not empty either. "Huh? Oh, it's better, thanks to you." Bai Ziqian finally withdrew his ears and looked at Yuan apologetically. In the room, Ms. Feng finally came to her senses and saw her and Bai Zi. Ms. Feng stepped towards the bed and looked at Bai Zi, who was lying on the bed just like her former self, skinny and skinny. The thin face has long lost its former handsomeness. The temples are gray and the eye sockets are sunken. What kind of face is this? It's a skeleton. Feng's trembling hand touched the skull-like face, and she trembled with pain. Zi. Ms. Feng finally called out the name in her heart. She couldn't bear it anymore and lay down beside the bed and cried loudly. Outside the bedroom, Yuan and Bai Ziqian looked at each other, walked to the yard outside and sat down. Who could bear the cry that made the listener sad and the listener shed tears? No one has the mental strength to face such a miserable scene of an unmarried couple who has not seen each other for more than 10 years. "Your mother?" Bai Ziqian hesitated to speak. "My mother, what you saw is 7 oil bottles." Yuan curled her lips. Of course she hoped that Feng would remarry. A woman in her 30s is in her prime. In previous lives, there were many unmarried women in their 30s. Bai Ziqian smiled and said, "Hey, as long as you guys are willing, our old Bai family can't bear to do it. Their Beifu is currently very thin. He is the eldest, with a son and a daughter. The second child, the second son, and the third child are all single, but now they have to go to bed. If this brood is brought into Beifu, the population will be more prosperous. When the third child is well, he can raise another brood. Ahaha, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful." Bai Ziqian was thinking about good things, and his face was really squeezed into a chrysanthemum. Cough cough cough, Yuan coughed a few times to remind her that there are still people here. Why is she enjoying herself alone? This man hasn't been much normal since he saw her today. He won't be like her, cheating, right? Yuan will not admit that she cheated on her mother. She did it for Feng's happiness for the rest of her life. The two of them were originally an unmarried couple, and now they are an unmarried man and an unmarried woman. Why can't they be together? "What's wrong, little girl?" Bai Ziqian came back to his senses and asked with a smile. That smile is so vulgar, like Grandma Wolf. "It's nothing. I see that you are too engrossed in thinking about things and your eyes are slanted and your mouth is crooked. I am afraid that you may have a stroke, so I will remind you. You girl, uncle, aren't you happy that Uncle Bai is doing well now? Why can't I be happy even if they are doing well now?" Why is this girl speaking in the same tone as old Shen? "Okay, you're happy, I have to go." Yuan stood up, returned to the bedroom, and knocked on the door. "Mom, let's go and come back tomorrow." Feng's voice of him immediately came from inside. After a while, Mrs. Feng opened the door and came out, her eyes as red as lanterns. Yuan took Feng's arm and walked out. Bai Ziqian returned to the house knowingly. The mother and daughter came out of the yard. Mrs. Chen stood outside the door. When she saw the mother and daughter coming out, she stepped forward to help Feng. "Aunt Chen, please help my mother go back to rest." Mrs. Chen, "Yes, Miss Fourth." "Hey," Yuan sighed, looking at Feng who was trembling in her steps. She shook her head and returned to her bedroom. The days passed peacefully for more than 10 days. In the past 10 days, the 4 brothers Yu Heiran have already gone to school. Yuan left all the affairs of the Yu mansion to Feng, and of course Yuan gave her 20,000 taels of silver notes for her disposal. The restaurant's business is getting better day by day, and Yuan doesn't have to worry about it, as long as her chili, wine, and pickles can be supplied normally. In addition, the weather is getting drier. Many people who have experienced drought know that there will be a drought this year and do not sell food outside. Fortunately, Yuan Rang harvested enough food. But Bai Zi's body gradually recovered, and Feng would take time to accompany him every day, which made Bai Ziqian happy every day. Bai Zi also knew about Feng's experience. He didn't care that she brought 7 oil bottles, and planned to return to Beijing to get married next year when her health recovered. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 56. Chapter 56. Someone is going to cause trouble in the restaurant. As for Yuan, the 7 brothers and sisters, they take advantage of the time to exercise and practice their skills. Early in the morning that day, Zhang Xuanjian knocked on the door. "Miss Fourth, are you up?" Yuan opened her hazy eyes. Zhang Xuanjian knocked on the door so early. Something must have happened. She replied, "Get up right away. What's wrong, Xuanjian? What happened?" "It's Uncle Xiao who's looking for you in a hurry. He said that he has something to talk to you face to face. The slave has already brought the washing water." Yuan heard that it was Xiaobo, so something must have happened in the restaurant. What happened so early? She hurriedly put on her clothes and came out, and Zhang Xuanjian brought her water for washing. Yuan washed up in a hurry and went to the living room alone. Sure enough, she saw Xiaobo walking around anxiously. "Xiaobo, what's going on? It's so urgent, sit down and talk." When Uncle Xiao saw Yuan coming, he breathed a sigh of relief and sat down. "Fourth miss, someone came to see me very late yesterday and asked me to sell him our restaurant's recipes and wine recipes, saying that I would redeem my life, and gave the old slave another 100,000 taels of silver. The old slave did not agree. He threatened the old slave. It was too late last night, and the old slave came over in the morning." Yuan poured a glass of water for Xiaobo. "Uncle Xiao, don't worry, drink some water, I will go to the restaurant with you later. That person will definitely come again, just tell me his appearance and accent." Xiaobo drank water and felt much better. Yuan said to Uncle Shu, "Uncle Shu, go and ask Xuanjian and Xiaoda to get in the carriage. We will go to the restaurant immediately and tell Mrs. Sheng by the way." "Yes, miss," Xiaobo trotted away. The carriage came quickly. Yuan got on the carriage, and Xiaoda immediately drove away. Yuan sat in a private room in the restaurant all morning. Diners came and went, but no one came to cause trouble. Those who open restaurants are most afraid of people coming to cause trouble. Their specialties are either eating the overlord's meal, eating bugs, or directing and acting in the restaurant and eating dead people. Yuan took a series of measures to deal with these problems, and she brewed a kind of detoxification wine in her space. This wine is a spiritual wine prepared based on the elixir recipe recorded at the back of the Wankojeng. She doesn't know how to make elixirs. She doesn't have an elixir furnace, and there is no elixir fire, spiritual fire, or strange fire. What kind of elixir can she refine? There were no tools, but there was a panacea, so she simply brewed it into wine. Unexpectedly, this antidote wine was really comparable to a panacea. She let the little snake bite her and put some poison in it, and then she drank a few sips of the antidote spirit wine, and the poison was detoxified in 10 breaths. The little snake said, "Master, you are a genius. You can brew a spiritual wine with the same effect as the elixir without any wine recipe. It's awesome." Fourth miss, they are here, Zhang Xuanjian hurriedly came to report. Where did they eat? In the lobby. Oh, lobby, are you planning to do something in public? Let's go, Yuan hurried downstairs. When she reached the stairs, she slowed down and stared at the table of people Xuanjian was talking about. The table was right in the middle, and there were 8 people eating. The table was filled with orders and a jug of wine. The 8 people were eating and drinking enthusiastically, and one of them rolled up his sleeves, preparing to pick up some dishes far away from him. This is poisoning. Yuan estimated that with so many people, they would just get some bugs or something. What the hell, he is also a drug addict, so cruel. The man held up his chopsticks with his right hand, touched his sleeve with his left hand, and pinched it with his left fingers. Sure enough, powder fell into the dish under his sleeve. He quickly picked up a chopstick and ate it, and immediately said that he was going to Gong's room. Yuan gave Chiao a wink, and she went downstairs and quickly crossed the table. Anyway, she is a little girl, and not many people talk about her. She came to the place where the man left and said, "Hey, you are all eating, where is my brother?" The 7 of them stopped their chopsticks and looked at her strangely when Yuan suddenly appeared. Yuan took advantage of this moment, climbed up on the stool, picked up the chopsticks, and picked up the dishes like the previous person, but at this time she had already dripped the antidote wine into the dishes. At this time, a young man in a blue shirt finally reacted, "Who are you? Which kid from which family? Go, go, go." Yuan pretended to be stunned. "Isn't this where my brother is sitting? Did he ask me to come and eat? Did he say something wrong?" He was clearly talking about the table in the middle. "Go, go, go, where is the stinky beggar, and where is the sister of the 3 pillars?" The young man in green next to Yuan pushed her. Oh, it's not my brother, that's what he said wrongly. I'm leaving now, I'm leaving now." Yuan quickly left and sneaked into the backyard while others were unprepared. Fourth miss, you are here. We have been caught. You are inside. Zhang Xuanjian pushed the door open and closed it smoothly. In the room, the man named Sanzu was paralyzed in front of Chiaoda. Fourth miss, this person has already explained everything, do you have anything else to ask? Chiaoda stood up and offered to sit down. Yuan nodded. She sat down and looked at the 3 pillars on the ground. Apart from his expression being a little wilted, he had no other symptoms. I think Chiaoda didn't ask anything useful at all. 3 pillars, right? Let me ask you, who will save you if you are poisoned? How about a restaurant? 3 pillars looked at Yuan strangely. Even though she was a little kid, he could barely pay attention to her. It's just that this question is so strange. If he was poisoned, his doctor must have come to save him, and he must have asked the restaurant to pay for the recipe. 3 pillars would definitely not say anything. He gritted his teeth and said, "What poisoning? How can we be poisoned?" Chiaoda was stunned. He glared at Sanzu. "You clearly said that you put the poison in order to blackmail our restaurant into paying us the money and the recipes and the wine prescriptions." Chiaoda, don't talk. He's not honest. There are ways to make him honest. After Yuan finished speaking, she couldn't help but click on the 3 pillars. Suddenly, Sanzu's face was distorted, and he was rolling on the ground in pain, trying to shout but unable to do so. "Chiaoda, Xuanjian, Go outside and watch. The food at their table cannot be less than a penny. Yes, Miss Forth, they both went out. Yuan saw people leaving. She waved her hand and the people on the ground disappeared. She closed the doors and windows and stepped into the space. In the space, the three pillars were still rolling on the ground, and their clothes were worn out. Yuan untied his mute point, and the pitiful cry of the three pillars suddenly woke up the little snake. Master, why is this man so miserable? Well, is it miserable? Yuan's gloomy voice sounded. The little snake turned around and disappeared. Yuan squatted in front of the three pillars. How are you doing? Are you going to disappear? Do you want to talk about it? Three pillars looked at Yuan in horror. This is a demon, there is such a small demon in the world. He thought he was just a little brat, gritting his teeth and refusing to admit that there was nothing she could do, but he didn't expect that she really made him unable to do anything. He nodded with effort and continued shouting. Yuan used a few squeaks to untie Sanzu's acupuncture point. Sanzu slowly stopped and only hummed. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 57. Chapter 57 Manager Zhu. Tell me about it, Yuan said lightly. But Sanzu sounded like the ghost in hell. He huddled up tiredly and said in a hoarse voice, a steward named Zhu found us. He made us poisoned in the restaurant, and then accused you of poisoning and murder. Then he forced us to bring out the recipes and wine recipes and compensate them along with the restaurant. Oh, they are so stupid that they have the nerve to resort to such an old-fashioned method and pay 3 damages. My surname is Zhu, I hope it's not you. Yuan smiled. That's what he said, please let me go, my aunt, just treat me like a fart and let me go. Sanzu didn't care about that much. Hearing the tone of the aunt's words, and the way he let me go, a method of torture that makes people miserable. He really didn't dare to look down on this little ant anymore, and his life was the most important thing. Let you go? Do you really dare to think that if I hadn't met you today, guess what would have happened to my restaurant? It's impossible to let you go, just work here for me. These 3 pillars are not dead for the time being, but they will be useful in the future. It is safest to keep them in a space, and there will be more people to work on them. Little snake, come here, Yuan waved to the little snake. Master, what are your orders? The little snake asked, stretching his head. Leave this man to you and let him work, as long as he doesn't die. Yuan knocked on the snake's head. Recently, this guy has been lazy and secretly took elixirs, but his cultivation has improved a lot. Yes, master. The little snake rolled up the 3 pillars and ran away. 3 pillars saw that it was a snake, and he was able to speak to his sister-in-law. Ouch! They are all monsters, no wonder this little ant is so evil. When the little snake came to wrap him up, he screamed in fright and fainted. Yuan stepped out of the space. If it didn't happen today, the steward named Zhu would definitely come to the door in person, so she would just wait and see. Yuan took out a set of clothes from the space and changed into the clothes she was wearing, then walked out of the backyard towards the 3rd floor. When passing by the lobby, people were eating at the table. Yuan waited until very late and failed to wait for Manager Zhu to arrive. 3 days passed, and the restaurant was still quiet. On the 4th night, when Xiaobo was closing the door and preparing to close, a man appeared in front of him. Manager Zhu. Although Xiaobo was prepared, he was still startled when this man suddenly appeared in front of him. What? Shopkeeper Xiao didn't invite me to come in and sit down. Manager Zhu had a gloomy look on his face. He asked someone to come and do something, but it didn't get done and he disappeared. He didn't want to continue since he knew what they were doing, but his master vowed that he would need their recipes and wine recipes, and even the restaurant would serve them in one pot. He cannot withstand the pressure of his master. If things are not handled well, he cannot afford the consequences. Please, please, Mr. Zhu, please come in. Let's go to the private room on the third floor. The master said that Mr. Zhu would definitely come to the door in person and lead her up. Uncle Xiao closed the door and led Manager Zhu to Yuan's private room on the third floor. When Uncle Xiao came up, Qiaoda immediately opened the door for them and let them in. As soon as Manager Zhu entered the private room, he saw an old girl about 10 years old drinking tea. Shopkeeper Xiao, what do you mean, let him come to meet a little girl? Uncle Xiao made a gesture of invitation. Manager Zhu, don't be in a hurry. Sit down first. If you have anything to do, talk slowly. This is our boss. It's best to talk to her. Manager Zhu sat down angrily. If you dare to play tricks on me, you will bear the consequences. Yuan pursed her lips. Is Manager Zhu threatening us? Manager Zhu, threatening you? You are not qualified. Call your adults. What qualifications do you, a little girl, have to talk to me? Yuan frowned. This was just a 250 person, it didn't take any brain work, he must have gained the upper hand when doing things. Is Manager Zhu from the general's mansion? Just say what Manager Zhu wants, you are not qualified to see me. Indeed, when he saw Mrs. Feng, he was so scared that he crawled out. Manager Zhu was stunned. Since you know that I am from the general's mansion, then give this restaurant to our general's mansion. From now on, our general's mansion can completely protect your family, and it's good to start a new one. You are so breathless. You are not afraid of flashing your tongue. You want to let your serious master come to see me. As soon as Yuan finished speaking, Manager Zhu slapped the table and said, I'm sorry for you, but let's wait for the government to collect it next year. As the word "ba" came out of his mouth, someone suddenly pinched Guanqi Zhu's throat. He blinked and saw that the person pinching him was actually the little girl Jianzi. Yuan pressed hard, and Manager Zhu rolled his eyes. He felt so uncomfortable that he grabbed it with his hands, but it was useless. Humph. How dare you be so arrogant to me, give you some color, and even want to open a dyeing room? Do you really think my Xin Chen restaurant is so easy to get into? Go back and tell the guy named Zhu to take care of his paws. If you don't believe me, I'll chop it off, feed the dog. Yuan threw Guanqi Zhu away, and he fell heavily to the ground, which hurt him to death. Where did this little monster come from? He was so strong. He believed that this little girl could break her neck with just a blow of wind. He was so fast that he didn't even know how he got pinched. Steward Zhu touched his neck and nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. Okay, I'll leave right now. Manager Zhu got up and rolled out of the restaurant as if there was a ghost chasing him. Manager Zhu left the restaurant without looking back, jumped on a carriage and drove to East Street, but there were three tails following behind them. The carriage stopped at a Fola Inn, and Manager Zhu hurried up to the second floor. The people chasing after him were naturally the three masters and servants of Yuan. Yuan waved her hand, and the three of them went to the back of the inn. The three of them came to the back, and she listened carefully to make sure there were no hidden guards. This person is so confident that he doesn't have any secret guards around him, Yuan was surprised. She quickly walked to the edge of the inn, found a clinging point, and after a few clicks, she reached the window of the last room and put her ear against it. Zhang Xuanjian and Qiaoda below were stunned when they saw Yuan's skill. They climbed up like a gecko. Sure enough, as soon as Manager Zhu entered the room, he made a fuss about it. Bang, the sound of a teacup falling to the ground. Humph, not only is the stinky girl so generous, but I also let me go see her, it's such a big honor, a male voice with a sadistic tone said. Yuan gently poked a hole in the window, and she leaned forward to take a look inside. Only the profiles of the two people were seen. Manager Zhu was standing half respectfully, and the other one had his hands behind his back. From the side, he looks tall, with rich clothes. There is a lotus-colored purse at the waist and a crystal-clear jade pendant. Second master, Do you want us to send someone to visit the county government office? Manager Zhu said cautiously. The second master said, no, this county magistrate is used to playing tricks and is very slippery. We can handle it ourselves. In this small Daxing county, I still don't believe that I can't cure her as a little brat. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 58. Chapter 58, Strike First to Gain the Upper Hand. Manager Zhu, then what do you plan to do? What should we do? If the restaurant burns down, wouldn't it be better if the person dies? The second master snorted contemptuously. I want to compete with the Zhu family for business, and I am really impatient with the work of plucking hair from a tiger's mouth. In this great Yan Empire, whoever dares to steal their business will only eat the leftovers and give some to other people. It can be said that the entire great Yan Empire belongs to their Zhu family. Once that sick man dies, won't the great Yan Empire's surname be Zhu? Just a wine recipe and a recipe, sooner or later I will be able to come up with it myself. It's a small little girl's film, and he doesn't need to do anything yet. Is this person so vicious? Yuan was horrified to hear that he actually set fire to kill people just for the sake of such a restaurant. Although she is also an unscrupulous person, she is not willing to take human life lightly. Yuan's eyes flashed with a fierce light. Then don't blame her, it's better to strike first. She waved her hand and the little snake came out. Little snake, go in and poison those two people to death, and then search for their belongings for me. He dared to burn down her restaurant and kill her. She, Yuan, would not keep such a person around during the new year. Yes, master, the little snake slipped in. Sure enough, two shouts came from the room, and then the sound of two people falling to the ground. After a while, the little snake came out with two purses and two jade pendants. Yuan took the little snake into the space, erased her traces, and came down. Yuan passed by gently, waving to Zhang Xuanjiang Qiao, and the master and servant disappeared into the night. At noon the next day, sure enough, the entire county was in an uproar. Last night, two guests at Fola Inn were bitten to death by snakes in their room. One of them has a distinguished status, his status as a doctor has been certified, and he has been registered with the county government. Now the bodies of the two have been transported to the capital, and the inn itself belongs to this distinguished family, so the consequences are at your own risk. Yuan listened to the diners talking about it. She felt very comfortable. No wonder she didn't see the secret guard last night. It turned out to be her own inn. This Ma County commander really dealt with, it is a wonderful person, the consequences are at your own risk. Ha ha ha, she likes it. It is really unworthy of such a person to be a small county magistrate. The Zhu family died on his territory. Magistrate Ma made them conceited with a light word, and the Zhu family had to swallow the bitter fruit. If the county magistrate were changed, I'm afraid there would be no calm today. The Zhu family would be in trouble here. If the snake was not found, the Zhu family would not give up. Yuan was happy for a while, but this did not make her relax her vigilance. This was considered a formal contest with the Queen Mother's party. Yuan doesn't think this is simple. There are inns owned by the Zhu family in this small county. I'm afraid all walks of life are monopolized. The Zhu family must be as rich as the country. I am afraid they will not be content with being ministers, right? The Queen Mother has no sons, only the second princess and one daughter. It is normal for the current emperor and prince to die of illness anytime. By then, will the great Yan Empire's surname be Zhu? Haha, this old witch is very good at calculating. A month passed in a hurry, and sure enough, there was not a drop of rain from the sky. Many of the wheat planted by the people were dried to death and rarely sprouted. Those who are close to a water source can still fetch water for watering, but those who are far away can only watch helplessly and die. The wheat on Yuan's 2 villages has all sprouted and is growing well. It just so happens that these 2 villages are adjacent to the river. The business of the restaurant seems to have not been affected at all, and those people can still eat and drink every day. Today, Yuan saw Feng sitting in the small garden again and sighing. "Mom, it's useless for you to sigh. If it doesn't rain today, there's nothing anyone can do." "Yes, Schwerer, Zer is right, you are not in the right mind," Bai Zi said, holding Feng's hand. "The two of them are so clingy now that it makes her toothache. After all, her soul is that of an old maid who is almost 30 years old. She is so beautiful that she wants to find a man to fall in love with, but this little body will only be 10 years old next year. Hey, she'd better go and practice." Yuan entered the room, and suddenly there was a whoosh sound, and the little snake came back. "Hurry, hurry, master, the little snake is dying of thirst and wants to drink water," the little snake screamed and scratched in fright. Yuan really couldn't get used to the exaggerated expression of the little snake trying to drink some spiritual spring water. Let him go out and find out where the Zhu family's granary is. This guy looked like he was being abused by his master. Yuan threw a glass of spiritual spring water to it, and the little snake submerged its whole head in it and drank gurglingly. "Ah, it feels so good," the little snake didn't forget to sigh after finishing the drink. Master, master, the little snake found that they had a lot of food, and some of it was moldy. Yuan raised her eyes. "Oh, there are them in every prefecture and every county." "Yes, the south has the most rice, and other places have everything." It seemed that the Zhu family was really going to do something big, so she had to make a trip. This food and economic lifeline are all in the hands of the Zhu family. It is estimated that these weapons will definitely be indispensable. After collecting their food, we can find their weapons and silver. During a drought year, major troubles are most likely to occur. It is not impossible for the Zhu family to take the opportunity to rebel. The Zhu family holds the military power, and the old witch holds the power of the court. There is a high probability that they will take advantage of the drought to cause trouble. There is no need to even look for a reason. It is obvious that the emperor's inaction has made the people miserable and complaining. How could the Feng family give up the world to others? Yuan calculated the time and found that the Chinese New Year was coming in more than a month, so she had enough time to go out. A few days ago, her skills broke through the 3rd level, and several spells appeared in her mind. A kind of body technique called light body technique. After she practiced it, her body was as light as a swallow and her speed was astonishingly fast, comparable to the high-speed train in her previous life. There is also a fireball technique. After mastering it, flames will emerge from the fingertips, which can attack enemies, make fire for cooking, and of course, burn corpses to eliminate traces. After practicing the water ball technique, you can shoot water arrows to attack the enemy. But you are just practicing it now. With only a little bit, you can still kill pheasants and hares. There is also a dust removal technique. As the name suggests, it means cleaning. If the body is dirty or the ground is dirty, no matter where it is dirty, just wave it with your hand and even the dust will be taken away. Yuan left the city gate after bidding farewell to Feng, and found a secluded place. As soon as she entered the space, she changed her clothes and became an ordinary boy. When it got dark, the little snake took Yuan to a village in the suburbs. "Master, this is right here, in the underground warehouse. Do you want the little snake to lead the way?" "Nonsense, lead the way, isn't it just to light the spiritual spring water?" "Okay, master, come quickly." Yuan followed the little snake to avoid the hidden defense and entered a miscellaneous room. "Master, down here," the little snake was floating on a pile of haystacks. Yuan opened the haystack, and sure enough, there was a small groove on the wall. She looked carefully and saw that the groove was smooth, and it was obvious that someone often pressed it. Yuan pressed down on the groove, and sure enough, The haystack parted suddenly, revealing a hole. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 59. Chapter 59 Sweep 1. As soon as the little snake saw it, it consciously got in and said, "Master, come down, it's okay." Yuan jumped down and walked a few steps. As expected, there was a huge basement filled with bags of rice and 10 boxes of silver. Tisk, 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 there are so many in one county. This method of amassing money is truly amazing, Yuan sighed. If he only worked for the court, this kind of person should really be respected by all the people. What a pity. She estimated that there were about 100,000 kilograms of rice. This should be harvested this year but not shipped away. She looked at it and saw that it was all new rice. It seemed that this was just a temporary parking spot. Yuan waved her hand and she took it all away. Yuan collected the grain and silver and immediately ran away with the little snake. Little snake, we have 5 counties in Huaiyang Prefecture, can we kill one more tonight? Master, if it's my fault, I'll be on my way tonight and I'll arrive tomorrow morning. After hearing this, Yuan and the little snake flew to Dayton County next door without stopping. At this rate, it will take more than a month to finish harvesting, which is probably not possible. Then go to the south. The south has plenty of rain and rich products. The Zhu family should have many granaries. The advantage of traveling at night is that it is convenient. No one can see their master and servant running like the wind on the road. When Yuan arrived at Dayton County, it was already bright. Little snake, the master is dying, let's find a place to sleep in the space, and we'll be ready to work when we wake up. Running non-stop all night is too much for even the strongest body. Okay, master, follow me. Little snake took Yuan to a remote bamboo forest, and Yuan and little snake entered the space. She fell on the bed and fell into a deep sleep. The little snake was in good spirits, and after letting the 3 pillars finish their work, they sorted out the grain and money they had collected. There is limited space in the space, so you have to arrange it well. This. Sanzu looked at so much food and money and was so shocked that he couldn't speak. These days in space, it's not that he didn't want to leave, but no matter how he walked, he couldn't get out. He still has to work every day. If he doesn't work, the little snake will torture him until he wants to go crazy. In the end, he had to work obediently and had no intention of leaving. This, organize this, there will be more later, and there won't be enough space to put them, the little snake roared. Yes, right away. The little snake left with satisfaction. When Yuan woke up, she felt very energetic. She stepped out of the space and took a look. It was not even noon outside. She went back to the space to practice some before leaving the house and saw the food and money collected by the 3 pillars. All sorted. Well, it's different when there are people taking care of the space, pickling vegetables, making wine, harvesting vegetables, harvesting grain, cooking the medicinal fields and taking care of the animals in the space. Yuan leaves all these tasks to Sanzu. This guy is cheap, not everyone can enter this blessed land of space. This guy is here, and Yuan has no intention of letting him out. Only the dead can keep her secrets, except her spiritual pets. Yuan walked around in a large circle in the space, feeling that the space was so small and not enough. Pheasants and rabbits are overrun in the space. As a last resort, the ones that have grown up and no longer grow can only be killed and pickled. Now there are hundreds of thousands of pheasants and rabbits in the space, and there are so many eggs. Yuan has collected all these things well. They are all of great use and cannot be wasted. The four horses in the space have developed spirituality and can fully understand what she means. There are also the two white tigers, which have grown into 2.5 big tigers. Seeing Yuan is like seeing a mother. In this way, Yuan walked around the space and saw something that didn't suit her eyes. At last it was night, and the master and servant got into a grain store. There were actually secret guards guarding the grain store at night. With the ability of the secret guards, how could they detect their master and servant? Evading the hidden guards is a piece of cake. It's still the same basement, but there's more food here. It's strange that they don't buy much food every day, but now it's cheaper for Yuan to buy more. After receiving the money, the master and the servant quietly went to the counter and took away tens of thousands of taels of banknotes and several account books. In this way, it took the master and the servant 7 days to collect all the grain and cloth stores of the Zhu family in the 7 counties of Huaiyang Prefecture. By the time they discovered the chaos, they had already sneaked to Changhe Mansion in the south. Beijing, General Zhu's mansion. In the study room, Zhu Zhenjun saw the urgent report delivered, and he slapped the letter on the table. His teeth chattered. "Who is it?" A man in black immediately appeared in the house. The man in black immediately knelt down and said, "See the master. Immediately take a small team to Huaiyang Mansion to find out who stole the food, silver, and cloth from the village. Note that it should be a gang. If you are caught, send them back to the capital immediately." "Yes, master." The man in black disappeared in a flash. "Here come, prepare your horses, I am going to enter the palace." "Master, this Changhe Mansion is a fat place. Are you ready?" Yuan slapped her over and said, "Am I the kind of person who has never seen the world and is short-sighted?" "Master, how old are you?" "You are still young and old." The little snake shook its head. Yuan was walking in Changhe City. It was indeed very prosperous, and it looked like the south of the Yangtze River in its previous life. The streets paved with bluestone are wide enough to drive 4 carriages abreast. The shops on both sides of the street are of antique style. Although they are not magnificent, they are almost full of carved beams and paintings. Although it is winter and the cold wind is blowing, pedestrians are leisurely and still smiling and chatting and laughing. There is no sense at all that this is winter, a drought year, and the restlessness and panic seem to have nothing to do with this place. Similarly, there is enough rain here, so people don't have to worry about the harvest. No matter how dry the weather is, it has no impact on them. Instead, it allows them to take advantage of the opportunity to make a fortune. Whatever is lacking in other places will definitely be sold here. This will enrich their pockets. It's just that after a severe drought there will inevitably be a severe flood, and this is the frontline area that will bear the brunt. At that time, no matter how prosperous the city is, it will not be able to withstand the washing of the flood. No matter how rich you are, the flood will not recognize you. Yuan doesn't have the ability to take care of so much. The emperor is not anxious and the eunuchs are anxious. She doesn't believe that people don't have that awareness. When night came, the master and the servant visited 6 shops and made a lot of gains, but the Zhu family suffered a lot of losses. After receiving the goods, the master and the servant immediately left the city and rushed to Changhe County. Yuanting admired the little snake for being able to clearly touch Zhuangzi's store belonging to the Zhu family in such a short period of time. "Little snake, master, are you surprised or surprised?" Yuan glanced at little snake. "Of course I was surprised. I didn't expect to scan a bank." "Speaking of little snake, how could you be sure that it belonged to the Zhu family and not someone else's in such a short period of time?" End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 60. Chapter 60 Sweep 2. Little Snake, hey, I thought you wouldn't ask, Master. Of course, my cultivation level has improved and I have opened my spiritual consciousness. It's easier to identify. Breath, Everyone's breath is different. Go to the general's mansion and take a look around, don't you know the breath? Oh, Yuan really doesn't know this. Apart from practicing magic arts and a few small spells she has just come into contact with, she only listens to what the little snake said. This guy says whatever he thinks of, but he doesn't know how to popularize it systematically. Forget it, just ask the little snake if you don't understand in the future, it's not appropriate to ask today. The master and servant continued on their way and arrived at Changhe County the next day. In Changhe County, the Zhu family put all their grain and money on Zhuangzi, just like Xingyang Mansion. The grain is stored safely in Zhuangzi and will not attract attention when moved. Whose Zhuangzi does not move grain? It took the master and the servant 12 days to clean up the entire Changhe Mansion. As the little snake said, a lot of the food here has become moldy. Yuan also took everything into the space, and even the moldy ones would not be left to the Zhu family. 7 banks were moved here this time, but the Zhu family's bank in Xingyang prefecture was not opened. In the space, the little snake saw Yuan staring at the moldy food in a daze. Master, you don't have to worry. The moldy food has been in the space for a long time and will gradually become better after absorbing the spiritual energy. Yuan was delighted. Really? It is a pity that so much moldy food cannot be eaten. Of course, even a dying person will recover if he enters the space and lives for a period of time, let alone ordinary food. Hey, this master doesn't know anything and is wasting a treasure in vain, the little snake sighed in his heart. Fortunately, I met my master, which was a blessing among misfortunes. Yuan saved its life, and it taught Yuan to practice common sense. The most important thing is that it is a majestic beast in this world that has no aura and is not even a small world. If it does not meet Yuan's space, it will definitely perish here. Master, where shall we go next? Yuan thought for a moment. Let's go to Anqing Mansion in the east in 20 days, he should be able to go home for the new year. Oh well. So the master and servant went straight to Anqing Mansion. In the capital, in the study room of the general's mansion, what did you say? All the shops of the general's mansion under Changhe Mansion were robbed again? Zhu Zhengting faced the steward who came back from Changhe Mansion to report, and he slapped the steward in the face. Useless things, you come back to report them after everything has been stolen. It's useless. What's the use of me raising you? Zhu Zhengting roared, and he sat down on the stool. Just as the plan was about to be launched, the food and grass were looted. Who did it? Who is helping that useless emperor? Is it Fang Fu? However, Fang Mansion has been silent for more than 10 years, and the weather has long been gone. Concubine Fang is already guarding the imperial mausoleum in the Taimiao temple. The queen, let alone a cowardly and incompetent female prostitute, whose father, the county magistrate, has been under their eyes and suppressed all day long, is even more impossible. Could it be Mujukan of Mu Mansion? Only this family has a hereditary first-grade prince with a different surname, and his rank is equivalent to that of a prince. Mu Fu is a royalist and is only loyal to the Feng family throughout his life. If it weren't for the Mu family, the Great Yan Empire would have been in his possession. In addition to Mr. Mu who is stationed at the northern border, there are also Uncle Mu and Mr. Mu in the mansion. These two people are already middle-aged and do nothing. They walk the dog and play with the birds all day long. It cannot be them, but they are also inseparable from their family. Mujukan was 15 years old, and he was the youngest son of Uncle Mu. He was already a successful young man, and could be said to be both civilized and military. Wen Ke competed with the Queen Mother, and Wu Ke went into battle to kill the enemy. He had no idea where he learned martial arts from, and he was extremely powerful. Zhu Zhengting squinted his eyes. Mujukan, right? Then let you fall into Jukan forever and never be able to stand up again. Yuan didn't know that what she did was to give the emperor some breathing space. At least the Queen Mother and Zhu Zhengting would not take action in a short time. but Mujukan was surrounded and suppressed inexplicably, and almost died several times, until he met Yuan. Within 3 days, the master and the servant rushed to Anking Mansion after a long journey. As soon as she entered the city, Yuan shook off the snowflakes on her body. It snowed heavily here. There are almost no pedestrians on the street, and every shop is closed. Master, if we start now, will we be investigated? You see, there is no one there. You are the only one entering the city today. Yuan frowned. I'm afraid they'll check it this time. I'm the master, should I let them go? Let's go, finish the work and go home to celebrate the new year. Okay, the little snake had to lead the way. The master and the servant entered a medicine shop and asked, Master, why did they put the food in the medicine shop? Yuan took it away and said, it's convenient for us to take it. Pay attention to whoever comes and don't let anyone catch you. The little snake whispered in his heart, who can catch you if the master has space? Yuan estimated that she was preparing to take it away, otherwise would she really let herself have a pot of it together? It took the master and the servant 15 days to finish the shave. Yuan was in such a good mood. She had room to use as a cheating device. Who would have thought that so many things could be contained in a broken bracelet on her wrist? Creak, crunch, crunch, Yuan stepped on the thick snow and ran quickly. Master, we are almost back to Huayang Mansion. Got it? Yuan waved her hand and a horse came out. The snow-white horse trembled in the snow. Before it could adapt, Yuan had already climbed onto the horse. Let's go, Yuan gave a light scold, and the white horse walked towards Huayang Fukan. Walking into Huayang Mansion, there was no snow falling, only the whistling cold wind. Yuan frowned. There are many farmers who are afraid that they will have no harvest in the coming year. But how will the food in her space be distributed to them? She traveled to 3 prefectures, Anking Prefecture to the east, Changhe Prefecture to the south, and Huayang Prefecture between these 2 prefectures. The entire Huayang Prefecture is one of the hardest hit areas, and the only way to distribute food is to ask the government to come forward. She didn't know if Lord Futai of Huayang Mansion was a good official. You can let the little snake run for a while. Then the little snake became an errand boy again. Fortunately, the city was close at hand. Yuan left the city and rushed to Daxing County that day. She did not wait for the little snake. One day later, Yuan appeared at the door of Yu Mansion. It was already the afternoon of the last day, and tomorrow was the spring festival. Shubo opened the door and said in surprise, Miss Forth is finally back. Madam misses you every day. Well, thank you for your hard work, Uncle Shu, please close the door quickly. Yuan walked through the door and walked towards her yard. Miss Forth is back, Zhang Xuanjian almost jumped up. Well, go and tell my wife that I need to take a rest. I was really exhausted from the rush. Zhang Xuanjian saw that Yuan was really tired, so she quickly left and went to tell her wife. Feng received the news that Yuan was back and wanted to come and have a look. Knowing that she had to rest, she had to ask the kitchen to prepare meals early. End of this chapter.